How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? This is Jordan Black, and I am here at Black and White, a podcast autobiography, and we're about to get our first episode underway. So welcome all six of you that are probably listening to this. I'm just being honest with myself. I'm being real with my expectations here. I know this is our first episode, so our listenership is probably not going to be the entire population of the United States, but we'll get there. It'd be awesome if Mark Maron just plugged us on his podcast and was like, "Hey, what the fuckers, go and listen to Black and White, a podcast autobiography, because that's totally, a thing." It's a fat kid telling stories about his life, which leads me into my first thing, is basically kind of going over with you what the exact premise of this show is, because I'm not sure how many people have done this. It's somewhat of like a web diary, but it's more of like a web therapy session, I would say. It's basically just going to be me talking to my audience about why I am the way I am, why I'm so messed up in the head, I suppose. Basically it'll just be stories from my life, and I'll try to make them as funny as possible. Some of them might not be. Some of them might be really sad, actually. That's a very real possibility that could happen on the show. You could end up shedding a tear or two, which, as long as it's not because the show is terrible, I think I'll take that as a win. So I guess I'll let you know something early. Get used to this sound. I can't. That's the clankling of ice in my Dr. Pepper glass. And that's something that you're really going to have to get used to if you decide to continue listening to this podcast, which I hope all of you do. Basically, I'm a Dr. Pepperholic, and the six of you that are listening probably know me, and you know that I love drinking Dr. Pepper. I drink it all the time, which is probably going to be the reason I die at like 26 from heart problems. It's going to just be clogged up with Dr. Pepper syrup. This is just going to be injected into my heart directly, and it's going to stop that shit. But I'm what you would call a DP holic. Dr. Pepper, not double penetration. Yeah, that's a fun thing. There's actually a website for Dr. Pepper holics. It's called Dr. Pepper Holics Anonymous. Now don't type in DP Holics Anonymous, because that will take you to a really, 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 really different website, and probably one that most of you won't want to go to. I browsed for a little bit whenever I saw it, but that's neither here nor there. So make sure to type in drpholicsAnonymous.com, which brings us to our sponsorships. There aren't any. We are not sponsored by anyone, because like I said, this is the first show. I'm sponsored by you guys. Soon on my website, I'll have a store, and I'll be selling my DVD and like t-shirts and, I don't know, maybe coffee mugs or hats or fucking something. I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet, but we'll get there. Like I've said, I'm kind of nervous. I'm a little bit nervous. I feel like you might be able to tell in somewhat I'm kind of stuttering. It's because I'm really trying to keep this all flowing, but at the same time I don't know what I'm going to say, because I don't have a script in front of me. I just have kind of like a loose outline of like, all right, well, maybe these are things you can talk about, but really, who gives a fuck? I'm really nervous because I've never done this before. This is, like I said, the first episode of this podcast. I have done one podcast once before, but that was it was one episode with my best friend, and we basically just sat on his bed and had a microphone that his mom owned, and we just sat down and recorded for like an hour, and we just shot the shit. There wasn't even like a topic or interviews or anything like that. It was just, all right, we're just going to sit here and we're going to just talk about whatever it is that came to mind. We didn't even have an outline. It was just, we sat down and we turned on the microphone. I was like, all right, well, let's do this. Hey, how's it going? It was called Waiting for a Name, because at the end of it, we were posting it on YouTube, and we're like, what the fuck are we going to call this? What are we going to call this? And we sat there for fucking 30 minutes thinking about, what are we going to name this podcast? And eventually I was like, why don't we call it Waiting for a Name? And then we'll just, figure out the name. And he was like, oh, dude, I like that. So yeah, on YouTube, there is a video, or actually 5 videos, 5 parts of a podcast starring myself and my best friend William Tart, who recorded one episode of a podcast and then stopped because the next time we tried to do it, we wanted to do it like the next week, and I came by, and we were gonna record an episode, and I was like exhausted, and I drank some coffee, but that didn't help. And so we got like 10 minutes in the episode, and I was like, you know what, fuck this, I'm done. I can't do an episode today. I'm tired, which I will definitely try not to do to all of you. Right now, I'm actually kind of tired. That's why I'm drinking the Dr. Pepper, is because I need some energy. It's been kind of a long day. I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning this morning to go to work, and as I was about to leave for work, I'm in the car sitting there like about to pull up the directions on my phone to where I'm going, and I got a text message from my boss that said, "Hey everyone, it's gonna be raining all day, so just stay home." And I was like, "Fuck! Like this is usually my day off anyway." That's the thing that pisses me off, is that I was supposed to have today off, but then he said, "No, you're gonna have to come in tomorrow." And that sucked, but I mean, it's better than him saying, "Oh, you have to come in tomorrow," and then I wake up at 5 a.m. on the day that I don't have to be at work, and that sucked. And so I was like pretty awake whenever I was actually awake, and then about an hour later, I was watching How I Met Your Mother, and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm so fucking tired." But I wasn't smart about it, and I didn't go to sleep, and then I had to go and do some registration for college, because I dropped out. I didn't drop out technically, but I just I kind of went like, "Oh, I don't want to go anymore to the University of North Texas here where I live." But then I kind of realized, hey, I don't like university, but I'm gonna go to just a regular community college and get an associate's degree in something, and it'll actually teach me immediately what I want to learn, as opposed to having to go through fucking 2 years of prerequisites just to be able to learn something valuable. So yeah, I went there, and the fucking waiting was so ridiculous, you guys. You can't even begin to understand. I was at North Lakes College in Irving, which is a part of the Dallas County Community College District. And I was there, and I had already applied, basically, and I had got accepted. I just had to go up there and give my transcript from UNT as a transfer, and then give my meningitis vaccination record to them. And so I went, and I got a little slip that said, "All right, this is where I'm supposed to be," I was just waiting to get to the line. And there was only one window open for like 30 kids that were waiting to go do this, and the average visit probably took like 9 minutes. So I'm talking like the first 30 minutes I was there, 3 people were visited. And then they opened up 2 more windows finally, and so things started picking up a little bit. And it was getting very frustrating. And so I finally got up and talked to the lady. I gave her my shit, and then she talked about like what happened at my other school, and how I wasn't doing very good in my classes, and talking about just the situation with academic probation, because that's what I'm on right now, because I've just fucked off the last semester of college that I was in. And basically, then she was like, "All right, we'll get you." Go over there to the academic advising place, and they'll help you get set up with classes and stuff like that, because you can't apply for classes, you can't register for classes if you're on academic probation by yourself. You have to do it with an advisor. So I went and sat in line for another hour waiting for that, and I went and sat down with the lady. And whenever, finally after an hour, I was sitting there on my phone, and it was getting low on battery, so that was a little nerve-wracking. Just kind of being like, oh shit, like it's kind of like you see yourself headed towards an iceberg, and you think, oh god, I don't have the wherewithal to make it on an island somewhere. I can't live on a rescue boat for 6 weeks until someone saves me. So it's kind of like that with my phone, where I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it home, on 10% battery. Like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do the rest of this college visit, without being able to look at my phone and just forget about where I am? And then I went and registered for a couple classes, and, I had to go down and talk to the advisor for my particular degree plan. And after visiting with her, like it was just so much stuff where it was like, I wanted to finish this in 3 semesters as opposed to 4, or just do like a summer semester and then do 4 semesters. But no, I have to do like spring, fall, spring, fall. I have to do that. I don't have any option as to if I can do summer classes. Well, I mean, I can, but there are 4 classes that you cannot double up on, and you can only take in a certain, So the only way I could finish whenever I wanted to is if I started this college, last semester during this previous spring semester. So whenever I was on my way back, I had like a mini panic attack or just a very small heart attack, because I was freaking out. I don't know why. It was just, I don't know what it was, but finding out that I was going to be in college for another 2 years as opposed to like a year or a year and a half just fucked with my head, man. I was freaking out a little bit. But after really kind of thinking about it, I was like, okay, I'll get to learn about something that'll actually help me in my career, which is video production technology. That way, whenever I decide to do my own, because I've written TV shows and stuff like that, and I want to do a YouTube series and that kind of thing, it'll help me. It'll actually give me some kind of knowledge in the field that I want to pursue. Okay, so that's the intro. I trailed off so much there. We're at 11 minutes right now. We've got another 19 minutes in this podcast. So hey, I think I definitely fucking just wasted a big chunk of our time. So that's great, because I wasn't even sure if I was going to make it up to our mark. So, well, thank you all for coming, and we'll get the show underway, I guess. Intro. What? What do you mean we don't have intro? Well, I mean, it's a big fancy podcast. We have to have intro. It makes no sense. Like, a guy playing a guitar, or, just any kind of music that leads into being like, hey, the show is starting, that kind of thing. But no, it's just, we don't have any music or anything to play. Oh, shit. Okay, well, I can do music. I'll just, see, I was dead. It sounded a little Law and Ordery, but I mean, it'll work for now. That will be our just intermediate intro sequence where we'll play it until we actually find someone who can do music and record it for us. Okay. Hello, everybody. We're gonna get the show started. Thank you to my producer, Nikolai. That is definitely not me doing a Russian accent, because my Russian accent isn't that spot on. That is our producer. Because I kind of fucking forgot to get intro music to this. Yeah, that's, what is it, intro or theme? I guess, intro would be what I did for 11 minutes before that little thing happened, so. Anyway, today on the show, we're going to be talking just about who I am as a person, and also later on I will be interviewing one of my personal favorite comedians. So yeah, it's going to be a great show. So, hello to all of you who are just tuning in, which would make no sense, unless you just walked into the room while someone else was listening and were like, hey, I need to listen to this. Excuse me, I just burped a little bit. But yes, I'm Jordan Black. I am a 19-year-old stand-up comedian, from Denton, Texas. I do many a thing. I was in theater in high school. I was in choir in high school. I am currently in the audition process for a men's barbershop chorus in Dallas called The Vocal Majority. Like I said, I do stand-up comedy. I screenwrite. I've written a TV show. I've written a screenplay. Actually, I've written a couple of pilots for TV shows that haven't gone anywhere quite yet. But, keep an optimistic point of view is what they always say, because you always get told no. That's the gist of it. It's kind of like every time I ask a girl out, you get told no tons of times. Get used to it, bitch. Basically, it's show business. Yeah, I am currently a student, I guess. Not currently. I'm not taking any classes right now. I start next week, taking just one class at a community college. And I work as a merchandiser, for flowers and shrubs, basically, for a company called Color Spot Nurseries, and I do that at a couple of Home Depots. I go to Home Depot, and I fucking just, take shit off of massive delivery racks, and I put them onto tables and end caps and hanging baskets and shit, which is stuff that some of you might not even know. That'll lead me into a funny story, I guess, something to talk about. The other day, actually, it was last week. I was at work with one of my bosses, because I work under a couple people, named Diana, and she is this really sweet old Mexican lady. Not, I wouldn't say old, but I mean old to me. Like she's in her 50s, and she does what I do, which is a pretty physical job, and it's fucking hot as shit outside right now in Texas. If you guys don't live in Texas right now, it gets up to like 95 to like 97 was that one time, and in the particular town that we're in during this story, it's even hotter than the average here in Texas. But we're sitting there, and she's off doing her own thing, and I'm off doing my own thing, and I go towards her to ask her, hey, what am I doing next? And she gets kind of gestured to by a gentleman behind her, who was a white guy, and he looked confused. So it's really not our job to deal with customers, but we do because we're nice people. And this guy looks at her and goes, excuse me, do you speak English? Like, and just asks her that flat out because she's Hispanic. And the thing is, she doesn't even sound Hispanic. She was born in San Antonio. She talks like this. Like, I mean, she doesn't speak fucking differently at all. She talks very regular. And this guy, and she just laughed. And she was like, no, senor, I do not. And just like the only way he could be more racist by saying something like that would be like, excuse me, Consuela, ayúdame. Like, just, oh my God, it was insane. I couldn't believe he actually said something like that to somebody out in public, which I guess, that's Texas for you. So, fun stuff. Yeah, more about me. I'm super, super, super single, you guys. Which, please, if any of you are women and are moderately attractive, particularly if you're redheads, I love redheads. If you have a big butt, then fucking, thank you. That's kind of my thing, is butts. I like big butts, and I cannot lie. And we'll stop there before I get sued to shit by Sir Mix-a-Lot's people. But yeah, I'm super single, and it's terrible. I am, one time I was talking to a friend of mine, and at this time I had been single for a year. Now, it's been like 6 months since that. So you can see the dire need for a girlfriend right now. But I was talking to him, and a little precursor about this friend, he is gorgeous. He is an absolutely beautiful man. And I was telling him that I had been single for a year, and I was like, yeah, dude, I'm clinically single. And he's like, dude, that's nothing. You've been single for a year? I've been single for 3 years. I was like, oh, holy shit. I'm clinically single. You're terminally single, bro. Yeah, he didn't think it was very funny whenever I shaved his head, too. Yeah, I'm single. It's been, I think a year and a half now. I'm guessing. I kind of lost track of the months, which is not a good sign. Being able to lose track of the number of something that you don't want to be a large number is not fucking good at all. But yeah, that's something about me. I am not a virgin, which would shock most people because I'm not a particularly sexy man. I think I'm all right looking. I think I'm pretty average, but I'm a little chubby, and I'm pretty geeky actually. Anyway, I'll get into how geeky I am next. So I've had sex with a couple people, and there have been there was one relationship in my life that actually was serious, and I'm sure we'll talk about this topic later and what happened with this relationship in another episode. Who knows? We might bring her on to interview her. That's what I want to. I want to do that. I want to bring on even people that I have bad stories about. I want to bring them on and interview them and just talk to them about how we knew each other and what our relationship was, stuff like that. I want to interview the girl that lost my virginity to and just kind of get a gauge on how well I did, stuff like that. Yeah. So. But yeah, I've only had really one relationship in my life that was any serious. We were together off and on for a couple of years, really, where it would be we were together for 3 months at the beginning, then we broke up for a month, then we got back together, and we were together for 6 months. Then something happened, which I won't get into the details now, but something happened that caused us to break up, and it was not good. And the next year, we, like after that was like right whenever summer started, and then the school year after that, like the beginning of it, we thought about getting back together, but then it didn't happen. Then in the middle of the school year, we got back together for another couple months, and she had been dating another guy for a little bit, and then we broke up, and then she ended up, she's still with that guy now. She got back together with him after I broke up with her the last time. And there have been times where like we've wanted to get back together, and who knows, this might get back to him, and that would be a shame, but not really because the guy's not a great guy. But it's we've kind of talked about getting back together, and she's talked about like wanting to break up with this particular guy for me. But there was a point where it reached a what would you call it, a peak where she just kind of went, you know what, never mind, let's not do this anymore. So we're not currently talking or anything like that. I haven't talked to her in a month, I think, but that's kind of a little summary of my relationship history with that one girl. And then like other girls, I've been with 4 women sexually, and the other 4 were like one-time things, which I'm not the type of guy that hits it and quits it, but I mean, it was just like a girl was like, hey, you want to come over to my house and hang out? And we hung out, and then she ended up not wanting to like, continue our relationship, or whatever you would call it. Yeah. So what are some of the things about me? Yeah, I really love barbershop music. We'll get into the nerdy part now. I'll talk to you about how big of a fucking geek I am. I really love barbershop music, which most of you probably don't even know what the fuck that is. And honestly, I don't blame you. It's not like you can blame me for not understanding something that society doesn't really like advertise like crazy. But I just absolutely adore barbershop and quartets and stuff like that, which most of you probably understand, like the idea, like the 4 guys in the pinstripe Coney Island red and white suits where they're like, hello my baby, hello my honey, hello my ragtime gal, like that kind of stuff. But it's not like that anymore. I think there are some guys who do it like comedically, where they kind of like act like they're one of those old barbershoppy groups, like the Buffalo Bills, but then just completely not be like a barbershop group at all. Yeah, I like barbershop music, and I am a theater nerd. I was in theater in high school, and I love acting in theater. I haven't gotten a chance to do it a lot since. Actually, I haven't done it at all since high school. I did audition for a role with like a small time theater in Plano called Rover Drama Works, and I auditioned for what's it called, Sherlock Holmes. I auditioned for that, and I got called back, but I didn't end up getting the part, which was kind of a bummer. But I know why, because they're casting people who are like 30 or 40, and I'm auditioning for roles that are those age people, and I'm 19, but I look like I'm fucking 11. So it makes it difficult to get roles from people that are that much older. But I haven't done it since high school, and I really want to start doing it again. But then it kind of comes to a point where I have to decide: do I want to continue doing stand-up comedy, or do I want to go out and do that? Because I know I can act. I can act easy. But you really don't forget how to act, and plus you get opportunities to rehearse, a show before you ever have to perform it in front of people. But comedy is a kind of a art form that you cannot just not do it for a little bit. Like if I've probably performed 3 times in the past 2.5 months, which is regrettable, and I don't like having to do that, but it's because I've been joining the vocal majority. And we rehearse on Thursday nights, so that was one of the nights that I regularly did comedy. And then having to wake up so early for work caused me to not want to really go out late most nights. So that ended up kind of throwing a kink in the stand-up thing, which I'm really wanting to get just kind of really back into it, because there's a bunch of stuff happening with my career right now. And I guess we'll go into my stand-up career now. So I've been performing stand-up comedy for 3, maybe. I think I may be going on 4 years right now. No, it'll be 3 years this month, I think, that I've been performing stand-up comedy. And I started in high school. I started the summer before my junior year of high school. I remember my first show. My dad called me up because I had expressed an interest in stand-up comedy, and I thought it was a really cool art form. I talked to my dad about it one time, and I kind of kept a journal because I watched that movie Funny People with Adam Sandler and Seth Rogen and Jonah Hill and a bunch of really good the Apatow bunch. But they kind of they did a thing where it talks about notebook keeping and stuff like that, and that's like the number one best friend of a comedian is keeping a notebook. And so I started just kind of writing down jokes in a notebook, and most of them were plagiarized. This was like in 8th grade that I had done this, and then I kind of forgot about it. And then the summer after my sophomore year of high school, before my junior year, my dad had called me and was like, "Hey, there's this guy named Nacho, and he's coming in to do like a comedy night. And you should, he's looking for an opener. You should come out and you should try to do stand-up." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, dude, totally. How much time does he want me to do?" And he goes, like, this show is in a week. It's a week from the day that I was talking to him. He goes, 11 minutes. Which, people, you don't understand how much time, comedy-wise, is 11 minutes. And that's a fucking decade in comedy time. Like, dudes will do comedy and do open mics for 6 months and not write 11 minutes of comedy. So I had no idea how much time that was whenever I agreed to do it. I was just like, yeah, fuck it, I'll do it. Yeah, sure, who cares? And I started writing, and I was like, oh yeah, this joke will definitely be like a 5-minute long joke. And I wrote it out, and then I timed it on my cell phone, and it was like 30 seconds, and I was like, oh fuck. And so I sat down at my couch, and there's a permanent indent on the part of my couch that I sit on, and basically I just sat down and I watched I Am Comic. It's a documentary about stand-up comedy and like kind of how the art works, and just wrote all day and night for 6 days. And I ended up actually getting 11 minutes of time. I got 11 minutes, and it was amazing. And I was supposed to meet him the day before the show to kind of just talk about the show itself. And I had gone to meet him on, I think it was a Tuesday that I had gone to meet him. And my dad was there, and I met him, and I was like, "Hey, what's up? How you doing, Dad?" And he's like, "Oh, doing good, still doing whatever it is I do." And so we hung out for a little bit, and then realized the guy wasn't going to come. He just kind of been like, "Oh, well, hey, I'm not going to be able to make it, sorry. But I'll see you tomorrow." And so I was kind of standing there, and my dad was like, "Hey, well, I got the mic and the mixer set up. Do you want to go up and do your set and just in front of the people that are here at the bar right now?" I was like, "Sure, all right." And so I did my 11 minutes in front of like the 10 people that were at Rock in Paradise in Louisville, which is no longer there. It closed down, but that's another story. I've got so many stories. That's the thing that I was realizing coming into this podcast, is that I have so many stories that are pretty funny, and that's why I really wanted to do a podcast autobiography. Anyway, so I went up and did my set, and I actually did really well for my first time. I think it might have been people being nice for me, but overall, I think the laughter seemed, genuine. So anyway, the next day comes, and I go and I meet the guy, and he seems cool. He's this, long-haired Mexican guy, and I shake his hand. He's like, "Dude, it's so cool you're starting comedy so young." And I told him, like, "Yeah, this is actually my first time doing comedy." I mean, like, the day before had been, but that set kind of thing had been my first time doing comedy. And I went up in front of like 40 people who, because the show had gotten promoted, and there were like specials, and drink specials for people that came. So there was a good crowd there. And I opened for him, and I fucking killed, which is something that doesn't happen in comedy. For those of you who understand stand-up comedy, and for those of you who have been to someone's first show as a stand-up comic, it's very rare that someone kills. And, this might just sound like me being vain or something like that, but I did. And I feel like that really kind of got me hooked on it right away, because I feel like sometimes if something doesn't go well right away, I quit, because that's just the white entitlement I have, I guess. But and then after that, I started going to this club called a Backdoor Comedy Club, which was the only club that would allow people under 18. That's why I went. Which it was on, like, they had open mic night on a Thursday night. And since I was new and I hadn't been there a whole bunch, I didn't get any kind of like early set. I got late sets all the time. And so I would go up there on Thursday night, and I would get there before the show started at like 8, and I wouldn't get up until like midnight. And it was just fucking brutal, man. It's like on school nights and shit, it was crazy. So I quickly stopped doing that. And I tried to start finding other places to do shows. I started doing comedy at my school had an open mic night that I would do. And because I could do however much time I wanted there. They just had time blocks that you would sign up for, and the show lasted for like 3 hours. But there was only like maybe, 4 or 5 people, and then a band that was like the regular kind of closer for the show that would perform there. So you could sign up for however fucking long you wanted to. So one time, like 3 months into my career, I signed up for like 30 minutes, and I ended up just riffing on shit just the entire time. I did like my 15 minutes of jokes that I had written, and then the rest of the time was just spent just jacking around and fucking with people in the audience. And anyway, so I would do that once a month because it was only once a month thing, and then I would also do a show at this place called Amity, which is a tea shop here in Denton, which I'm not sure if it's still open or not. But I used to do shows there where they would have a thing called Player Soul, and it was on Saturdays. Once a month on a Saturday. And I would go up there and I would do like 15 minutes. Now, this is where I feel like I really got my grit as a comedian, which is a weird thing to say about a tea shop, but I did, because I would go up following like poetry acts and people that were like singer-songwriters playing acoustic, covers of songs and doing like angsty shit. Or the poets would talk about like, raping the economy. I don't know. And then I'd have to go up afterwards and then be like, everyone be depressed as shit and try to get those motherfuckers to laugh. And that was like, it really developed my ability to just be combative with the audience and just be like, yeah, fuck you. Like, I'm going to get you motherfuckers to laugh, that kind of thing. And then, I kind of stopped doing comedy for a little while there. Sometimes I'd go to the Dallas Comedy House my senior year of high school whenever I finally turned 18. I'd start, going out to that club since I finally turned 18 and I can go to other clubs. I'd go there sometimes, but it was like a once a month, maybe once every 2 months kind of thing. So I really didn't develop a presence as a stand-up comedian at all, even on any comedy scene's radar. I wasn't a stand-up comedian until about 8 months ago. That was whenever I really started being like going to clubs every week and going to, stuff here in Denton every week and doing sets, to where people were like, okay, he is part of the comedy scene now. Because I was doing comedy in Denton for 2.5 years, but the Denton comedy scene was a completely different thing. Okay, so I guess we'll get into since we're talking about stand-up comedy, we'll get into the interview that I promised all of you with my favorite stand-up comedian, which is myself. I'm so lazy. I didn't get anyone to interview this week, because honestly, this week's episode is really all about me. That's because I love talking and I love hearing myself talk, and that is just the inner narcissist that I am. I love myself that much. So we're gonna get this interview started. Hello, Jordan. How are you? Oh, I'm good. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. Hello, everyone out there at Black and White. It's wonderful to be here. Well, it's wonderful to have you, Jordan. I honestly, I do believe so. So, how have you been? Doing the same thing as you, pretty much. And in fact, exactly. Like right now, we're doing the exact same thing. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Just kind of physically. Yeah. Well, we'll get this interview underway. Jordan, tell me about your comedic influences. Wow, that's a loaded question. Whenever I was really young and I was starting to watch stand-up comedy, whenever I was like a kid, whenever I was like 12, I really liked Dane Cook Vicious Circle, which as a kid you don't understand at all. Like as a kid, oh yes, I understand. As a kid you don't really get it. You don't get the jokes, but you get like the energy is very funny of Dane Cook, which most people like to rap on, mess with Dane Cook. Can't speak. Most people like to mess with Dane Cook, but I enjoyed him whenever I was a kid, and now I haven't seen any of his new stuff, but I enjoy Vicious Circle still. And then Squatting Monkeys Tell No Lie, Dana Carvey, that was a special that I saw whenever I was around that same age. that I really started to go, okay, this is like an art form. Like this is a real thing, you know. Because I remember whenever I was a little kid, I had seen like George Lopez doing a stand-up special on HBO one time. I was like, what the fuck is this? This is so boring. A guy standing on stage and talking, lame. You know, and that was partially because I was too young to understand what it was or what was being talked about. Plus, I wasn't Mexican, which makes George Lopez a little bit funnier if you're part of the cultural group that he appeals to. Oh yes, I completely understand. My influences, I wouldn't say anyone is really my influence. I try to be my own performance style. Like there were times where I would write jokes that were similar to certain people's styles. But I really couldn't pinpoint it, and that's mainly because most comedians don't find their voice for a long time. Like people say it took them 20 years to find their voice, you know, in their particular like performance style and their niche and what they talk about, you know, on a regular basis. So I couldn't really say who my influences are. One time, I've gotten compliments, compliments with a quotation. They're more backhanded compliments because I get told that I looked like Ricky Gervais or Seth Rogen. And I was like, fuck you or thank you. I'm not really sure there because I don't know. I don't know, man. Yeah, so really it's kind of just a question that's difficult to answer. And I don't know why I asked myself that question. Because, you know, I really had all the control there to give myself just a soft toss home run, just batting practice pitch there. But I gave myself a curveball, and I ended up not being able to answer it. I think it was interesting, though. Yes, it was a pretty interesting story, though. Thank you very much, John. Also, I would like to ask you, were there any other hobbies that you enjoyed as a child, specifically in your childhood? Well, I played sports. That was one thing I did. And that's one observation that a lot of people make about me whenever they first meet me, being a stand-up comedian. They go, wow, you're really big. You know, I'm a muscular guy. I wouldn't say I'm like big, but my natural bone structure and my muscle mass is larger than the average person. I'm not a thin guy. I've got really big legs and, you know, big arms and a big chest. But I've also got fat on my belly, so really, you know, whatever. But yeah, I played football from whenever I was like 9 till my freshman year of high school, and whenever I broke my ankle. And we'll get into that story some other time. In fact, you know what? No, yeah, we'll get into that story later. And I played that for a little while, and I played a lot of different positions. I played middle linebacker. I played center for a little while, which I'm actually a really good center. I'm sorry, I'm British. I'm the British version of you. I don't know what a center is. Well, you know, like the guy who sits down or kind of crouches and grabs the ball on the ground and then he hikes it between his legs to the quarterback. Oh, you mean the butt fondler? Yes. I do believe I understand what you're talking about now. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So I was the butt fondler for a little while, and then I got, you know, I was really fat whenever I was a kid, and then I got a little bit more, you know, tall and strong, and so they were like, oh, hey, we'll put you at like tight end or, you know, linebacker or whatever. So I ended up doing that for a while. And then whenever I got into high school, whenever I was in 8th grade, I went to Wilkie Middle School in Saginaw with my cousin, and our football team was really good. And that was like a year where I was like, you know what, I'm going to fucking be a football player. Like that's what you know, there were times where I wasn't sure what I was going to do, and there were times where I wasn't like good at football to where I wasn't like, yeah, that's going to be my career someday. But I was sitting there going, holy shit, I'm pretty good at football. And so I was, you know, my coach from my middle school football team was the defensive coordinator at the high school that I would have gone to had I not moved. And I had a starting spot on varsity my freshman year. And so I was like, fuck yeah, this is going to be my shit. I'm about to go dominate. And then I moved, which ended up being like the best thing that ever happened to me, because I became a better person because of it. And also because I really got to experience things as a performer here that I would not have been able to experience in Saginaw. Saginaw is a small town, correct? Oh yeah, it's like basically just a big suburb. Like, that's all it is. It's got 3 high schools, but I mean it's all families that have kids, and it's not any kind of another population. It's all just families. But yeah, and then I played baseball for a long time as a kid. And, you know, I pitched and I played third base. And then whenever I got bigger and slower, I played first base. but I got longer reach, so it made it first base a little bit more of an option, and I became I could hit the ball a fucking mile. And you can ask my dad, whenever we'd play. I could switch hit whenever I was a kid. Switch hit. I know that's a euphemism for someone who is a bisexual that can switch between man and woman. No, I mean, like, it's a person that can switch between, like, right-handed and left-handed batting. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yes. So, yeah, I used to be able to do that, and I really liked baseball just because baseball is a very intricate sport. It's not a normal thing. There's so much superstition that goes into it that people don't understand. There are so many rules, but it's always fair. And it's less of a team sport. It's less of a we're relying on each other. It's a lot of individual effort, So if you've got one guy who's not trying on the team, you're fucked, And I think everyone who's ever played Little League Baseball knows that whenever that one kid comes up to bat, it's on your team, you're just like, fuck, not Jimmy. God damn it, this guy fucking sucks. But yeah, so those are just some things. And I skateboarded for a little while, and I played paintball for a little bit. I tried to do like a semi-pro paintball team, but that didn't work out at all, which is a pretty embarrassing part of my life actually. But we'll talk about that some other time. Well, thank you very much, Jordan, for letting us into your life, and I appreciate you coming into our home. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys having me on. So basically, it'll just mold back into me talking by myself. Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of our show. I would just like to plug all my stuff really quick. In a couple months, I'm going to be having a DVD come out, and on my website, we'll be selling that. Also some t-shirts and stuff like that. So please support us here at Black and White, just to keep us running and keep our equipment nice. That way your ears enjoy the performance. Also, be sure to follow us on all of our social media. Follow us on Twitter at Black and White Pod. That's Black ND White Pod. Then on Instagram at Black and White Pod. Then like us on Facebook at Black and White, a podcast autobiography. And then don't forget to follow us on Vine at Black and White. All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, thank you very much for listening. I am Jordan Black signing off. Actually, follow me on social media too, at JBlackComedyTX on Twitter and Facebook, and like my Facebook page, Jordan Black Comedy. All right, everyone, thank you very much, and have a wonderful day.